Good morning and welcome to Fireside Chat. We're glad to have you again this month and look forward to giving you lots of new information and key facts that are hopefully helpful to you. As always, I want to thank you as residents for the effort you make to keeping Horizon House safe and COVID-free. Right now we are COVID-free and we have been for many months. Charles is going to be on a little bit later here to talk about some of the details about how to continue to stay safe, and we again appreciate everyone kind of following those instructions. I want to talk a little bit about the pace of relaxing standards or relaxing some of our restrictions. You know, we probably will slow that down a little bit as we work into flu season so we understand what the flu impact is in conjunction with what we're experiencing with COVID. Once we get some more clarity on that, we'll have a little bit more confidence, a little bit more comfort in what we might be able to open up. So bear with us on that. We just want to be cautious that we don't get ourselves caught in a bind with flu season converging with COVID. And, you know, I know that these restrictions and some of the behaviors we're asking people to manage in terms of wearing a mask and distancing, you know, it's not maybe what you might want to prefer yourself, but do it for your neighbor. A lot of this is really about keeping your neighbor safe and comfortable, and ultimately, if everyone's doing that, then everyone stays safe. So I'll be back in a little bit to talk about some other updates and happenings. So in the meantime, I hope there's a lot of good information here that you appreciate, and we'll have a little bit of fun along the way too, and I'll explain that at the very end. Talk to you soon. Thanks.
All right, this September, as of today, we do not have any new hires that have joined our organization. We do have roles that are open and we are recruiting for, so we do expect to see some lovely new faces within the coming weeks. I'd also like to announce to you that we are having retirement community this year. It's been delayed, but better now than never. Retirement Community Week will take place between October 12th and October 16th. We will continue to have themed days, one for each day of the week. Monday will be Tropical Day, Tuesday will be Hat and Sports Day, Wednesday is Culture Day, Thursday is Mismatch Day, and Friday is Crazy Hair Day. For this year's Retirement Community Week, as you've experienced in past years, we will still continue Bright Spots. In past years, Bright Spots have been sold to help fund our Employee Emergency Fund. This year, the Residents Council made a very generous donation towards the fund, and so we are going to be changing things this year, and we will not be selling the Bright Spots for cash. Instead, the residents will be allowed to submit an order form to let us know how many Bright Spot cards they'd like to order at no cost, and still use this as an opportunity to appreciate our staff and the great work that they've been doing. The Bright Spot cards, they will be distributed between October 5th and October 9th, and so we are asking residents to submit their forms by October 5th. Once we've received the order forms, we will begin the distribution of the cards to the residents. We are asking residents to submit completed cards and Bright Spot cards by October 14th to allow us time to distribute the cards to our staff during Retirement Community Week. The Bright Spot cards can be ordered through the front desk, and the front desk will also be helping with the distribution of the cards to the residents. In prior years, we have had an annual bake sale. Due to COVID-19 this year, we will not be having the sale, although we do anticipate next year to have an alternative way of still providing baked goods for the residents and staff to purchase. So stay tuned for more information on that early next year. This year we are adding for our Culture Day a world map to the B1 hallway across from the staff photo boards. We're really excited to have a world map that will allow our staff to put a pushpin in the map to an area where they either associate with, where they're from, and to really celebrate the diversity of our staff here at Horizon House. So keep your eyes open for the world map that'll be displayed. It will be up during Retirement Community Week, but we do plan to leave it there throughout the year. This year, we will still have our annual talent show. While it will be different, we all will not be in Anderson Hall together. What we will be doing is pre-recording each of the submissions for the talent show and streaming the video on HHTV. It'll be streamed on Friday, October 16th at 2 p.m. If you're unable to log in during that time to see the talent show, we will also be posting a web link on HH Connect to YouTube so that you can watch it at any time. That's all for today. Thank you.
Hello, meet Helen Jones of 11P, who became part of our community just this August 8th of 2020. Helen traveled all the way from Boston, Massachusetts, here to Seattle. Born in Scranton, Helen holds a BS from Syracuse University, received her MBA from Boston College, and has a career in financial services, primarily banking. Helen is affiliated with the Protestant Church and is a member of the Trinity Church in Boston. Helen also is involved with museums and community groups in the Boston area and hopes to find the same here. Her interests includes lots of travel, bridge, she's just beginning duplicate bridge, concerts, and theater. Welcome to Seattle and your new home here at Horizon House, Helen. George and Janet Harvey joined our community as new residents in apartment 16L on July 29, 2020. George was born in Lincoln, Nebraska, and has lived in Denver, Colorado, Issaquah, Kent, Bellingham, Olympia, Seattle, and Bellevue, Washington. He holds a BA in liberal arts and an MA in education, and has had a career as a technology manager at Pacific Northwest Bell and UW for 28 years. George enjoys reading, travel, gardening, tech, and cycling. He has been a Vista volunteer, tutor, sailing instructor, and is affiliated with the Protestant Church and is a member of the UW Faculty Club. Family to George is his wife, Janet, and his son and grandson. Janet is a Seattle native and holds a BA from the University of Washington, as well as an AA in nursing from the Bellevue College. With a career as a registered nurse, manager at Harbor Review Medical Center, she belongs to the Women's University Club, the Chi Omega Alumna Association, and the Desert Shadows RV Resort in California. She's also affiliated with the Episcopal Church. Janet's interests include duplicate bridge, classical music, and English literature. She's trained in genealogy and informatics with a special interest in writing articles. Janet has traveled to Singapore, Japan, China, Vietnam, Egypt, Italy, and has visited Paris and Amsterdam and also London. Welcome to your new home here at Horizon House, George and Janet.
Hello everyone, it's Charles Williams, the Director of Supported Living. Today you can just call me Tropical Barbie. I'm here to talk to you about a couple of things. I wanted to give you some updates on the phased reopenings. As you know, the DOH and DSHS put out the phased reopening for long-term care centers recently. We're still in phase one. We do have to meet the requirements for the community. The community has to reach a certain threshold for infections, and King County has not reached that yet, so we're still in phase one. Due to some recent feedback, I wanted to clarify some of the testing strategies that we have for COVID. We have, for supported living, we have testing kits and strategy in place if we have to do broad-based testing of the residents' employees. That is the only mandate that we have to have in place. We have not been given any other instructions for having to do testing at this point. That will come later if needed, but we do have the testing kits available, and we have the ability to run the test with the lab with the state. So that's in place. I just wanted to clarify that because there had been a lot of questions about, are we doing continuous retesting? I want to remind you about flu shots. Flu season is approaching. It's very important that you get your flu shot vaccination. I know independent living residents will be working with the clinic for that. In supported living, we have reached out to our families and our residents, and we plan to do testing on September 23rd. I'm sorry, not testing, we're going to give the vaccines on September 23rd and October 28th. So again, it's very important that you get that vaccination. As we all know, influenza is transmitted very similar to COVID. I'm hoping with the fact that we're all wearing masks these days that we will have a very mild flu season. We still have our outdoor visitation in place. Our life enrichment team is working on that to make sure that we're having those appointments so we can reconnect supported living residents with their family members. Hopefully, a lot of you have had an opportunity to experience that. It's been very nice to see those reunions, and those are continuing. Last thing I wanted to talk to you about is just a couple of infection control reminders. As you know, COVID is still very prevalent in our community, and we need to make sure that we are wearing our mask and we are doing social distancing and hand hygiene. The mask and social distancing is very important. The virus is transmitted through the air, so it's very important that not only do you keep the 6 feet social distance, but you wear your mask as well. Stay safe, take care of yourselves, and thank you very much.
Hello, this is Eve. Today I'm going to talk about your gut microbiome, and I'm pulling together the last 2 topics, which was the importance of keeping up with your fluid intake and also keeping your bowels regular, and the importance of fiber. So bacteria are some of the oldest cells known on the earth. They've been around for hundreds of thousands of years, and we are covered in them on our skin and also inside us from our mouth all the way down to the end. We have bacteria that we don't really want in our mouth that destroy our teeth, which is important to brush your teeth twice a day to get rid of those bacteria. Our throat is full of bacteria that also help as part of your defense system, and we have them all the way down in our gut. And they have many, many jobs to do. One of them is to produce certain vitamins, especially the B vitamins. They help with your immune system because they're very close to that system in the gut and the blood supply there. And they help you with digestion. And they love to eat, guess what? Fiber. So, very important to keep up with your fiber, as I've said before. I'm just going to put my glasses on so I cannot miss any of this important information. So where do these bacteria come from? So when you're a fetus in your mother's womb, you basically have a pretty sterile system. You don't have any bacteria in your internal system. And as you come through the birth canal, you pick up the bacteria of your mother. And if you're breastfed, you also pick up bacteria then from the skin. And you really need that to start your healthy biome in your system. And they say around the first 3 years is when you're really putting all the bacteria in, the healthy bacteria. So you have an adult bacterial system by the time you're 3. So those are very important years. If you were born through cesarean, what they're finding out now is that babies born in cesarean have more likelihood as children of having asthma and immune problems and allergies. So the rise of allergies in children is a lot to do with the rise in cesarean births. And in progressive hospitals, they are inoculating the babies with bacteria so that they have a healthy system. So interestingly enough, your bacteria in your gut love everything that's healthy. They need lots of rest, they need lots of water, and they need lots of food, healthy food. So when they become out of balance, say you've been eating a lot of fats, a lot of meat, a lot of unhealthy sweet things, the unhealthy bacteria grow bigger and the healthy bacteria are sort of starved. And then you get all sorts of problems. Some of them are irritable bowel, ulcerative colitis, constipation, diarrhea, and some autoimmune diseases. They're even linking now some types of diabetes with problems with your gut microbiome, which is kind of fascinating, isn't it? So important to keep it healthy, and so important to feed them fiber, which of course is not found in meat, is only found in vegetables and fruits. So also, fermented foods are really important for your gut microbiome. They love fermented foods, and that's part of their job, is that they deal with some the way that fermentation happens in your gut. And in digestion, the bacteria, the healthy bacteria in your gut, help with that. Some of the problems we've gotten into in modern society is the overuse of antibiotics, unfortunately, because antibiotics means anti-life. So when you take an antibiotic, which is sometimes necessary, absolutely, they kill all the bacteria, healthy and unhealthy. So it's very important when you take an antibiotic to take a probiotic for at least a month afterwards, and you can talk to your primary care provider about the importance of that and whether you need to be on one. 70% of all antibiotics in the world are given to animals. And so the meat that we eat is full of antibiotics, and that's another problem of Western society, that we have become sort of antibiotic resistant, and that is a problem. So we want to take antibiotics when necessary, but we also want to keep up the healthy bacteria in our gut, or else we're going to get into all sorts of problems. We are dependent on bacteria for life, and we live symbiotically with them. And so what we're really interested in is just, again, keeping that healthy balance. So eat lots of fiber, fruit and vegetables. Stay away from too many sweet things and all this added sweeteners that are in so many processed foods. Keep your processed foods down to the minimal. And think about, when you're eating lots of sugary candy, what you're feeding when you swallow it. So those unhealthy bacteria are getting bigger and the healthy ones are getting smaller. So that might sort of slow your sweet tooth consumption. All right, good luck with that. Any questions, again, come and see me in the clinic. Bye for now.
Hello, my name is Brian, and I'm one of the exercise specialists here at Horizon House Wellness Department, and I want to talk to you a little bit about the benefits of exercise and how important it is for you. Before I begin, I want to let you know that there's also Margaret. She is my coworker. She's an exercise specialist here. And then Matt Morris is our wellness manager. So there are three of us here, and we would love to see you here. So what are the benefits of exercise? First of all, reduce stress levels. It's very important. So it can reduce your cortisol levels, which are your stress, and that helps reduce that. That's really important. As well as anxiety. It reduces your anxiety to exercise. So when you exercise, your brain releases endorphins, which can help you to calm down, which is important. Also, reduced risk of depression, which is pretty rampant right now. So exercise is really going to help you stave that off. So it can help you improve your mood. It also improves your social well-being. So coming down to the gym, you can meet some of your fellow residents and make friends. It's always a good thing to do. It's a great place for that. And increased self-esteem. So as you become faster, fitter, and stronger, you can start to improve your self-confidence, which is really helpful. And boost your brain power. Yes, you can boost brain power by exercise. Help you improve your cognitive functioning, including decision-making and learning. How much exercise should you be getting? It's a great question. I would say, and this is kind of a standard, about 20 to 25 minutes a day, and that means consistent exercise. Getting on the treadmill for 25 minutes, swimming in the pool, or just walking in the pool, getting outside and exercising. What you want to do is you want to make sure that you keep your heart rate at a consistent place. That's how you keep that cardio get your cardiovascular system stronger. And then you also want to include some strengthening, which is really important. You can try that about twice a week. So come down here to the gym and we can help you set up a program if you haven't done that yet. We've got all kinds of equipment and weights that you can use to do that. So those are really important things to include. That schedule is really important to keep with that schedule. So what are some of the components of exercise? Cardiorespiratory endurance, which we just talked about for strengthening the treadmill or getting outside walking or swimming. That's really important. Muscular strength, you want to get nice and strong. So obviously, so you can do all your activities. Flexibility and mobility, very important for function, getting up and out of your chair, reaching for things in your bathroom or wherever it is, gardening, picking up your grandchildren, whatever it is, that's really important. Muscular endurance, all that isn't tied into that, so you don't get fatigued really fast. You can continue doing what you're doing to lead a happy and healthy life. And then body composition, you just want to make sure that you have a good amount of, that you're eating well, good musculature, and all that. So what are we doing to help you with all this? We've got some options here. First of all, we've got the gym, which is open 7 days a week right now. So you can come down here, call us, make an appointment, and we can set that up for you. You got 25 minutes. And if you don't feel comfortable or not familiar with the gym, we'll help you set up a program to do that. Also, we have the pool. You can come down, use the pool, do some walking, some exercising. It's a great way to feel good, release some stress, and get some cardiovascular. And then also we have the YouTube channel with all the videos that we offer for exercise, and that's on your HHTV. If you have any questions about any of that, you can always give us a call at extension 3779 down here in the gym. And you can also email me, brync@horizonhouse.org. That's BRYONC@horizonhouse.org. That said, I would love to hear some feedback about the videos. If you'd like more of something or less of something, I'd love to hear back from you on that. If you have any other questions, please give us a call here. We're down here pretty much all day, and we are here on Saturday and Sunday as well if you wanted to make an appointment. So I think that's it for now. I hope to see you soon, and again, take care and stay healthy. Thanks.
Hello, my name's Linda Purdy. I'm the Director of Spiritual Care here at Horizon House, and I'm going to speak with you today about mental health. You've been learning through this video about physical well-being and wellness, but sometimes we forget that we have an inner part of us, our inner well-being, which is our mental health. Those things that incorporate our feelings, our thoughts, and our choices, what gives us purpose and meaning in life. And during this time of isolation, especially because of COVID-19, it is important for our mental health to be as healthy as our physical well-being. And I'm sure that you know that because we are, as human beings, incorporating all parts of these for ourselves, it is important for us to find ways to be with one another and to find others who are having the same interests as ourselves. You see, as human beings, we are meant to live in community. We are not meant to be in isolation. It makes our lives more challenging, and some of us, it makes it almost impossible. Some of us also do better in isolation than others. Extroverts, they get their energy from being with other people. Whereas introverts, they get their energy from solitude. However, too much isolation and aloneness can still be too hard on anybody, especially someone who is newly widowed. And so I'm going to give you some tips to help you get through all this. So the first one is that our human connections are extremely important. We're used to walking outside and running into people. We're used to being in the elevator and having elevator conversations. How many of you missed those? That's how I find out all the news. And most of us thrive in being around people that we love who have similar interests. So now we have to find other ways to find those connections. I've seen people sitting in the lobby just to see people come by and hope that somebody that they recognize will say hello. That's a good idea. Sometimes people sit down on the benches just to see if somebody come by that they know. Be where people are. Don't just stay isolated in your room or your home. Visit with someone one-on-one. We are now at the point where we're allowed to have people in our homes, a single person come in our home or a couple. And so invite someone, get to know someone you don't know very well, and invite them in your home. Talk to them and have them share with you. Just remember to wear your masks, sit 6 feet apart, and don't eat, which is the hardest thing, not to serve a drink or not to eat. But sometimes getting to know each other is more important than all of those. In line with this, check in with one another. It is important to knock on the doors of those your neighbors that you know or don't know, but find out how they're doing. Find out if they're okay. Have someone check in on you. It's okay to say hi, to knock on their door. We still have several indoor places to meet one another, so it's okay also to make a meeting. Find someone you don't know very well and have them join you in the dining room outside, looking where you can see those beautiful flowers, or to join you in the social room, and people read newspapers in there and people also have conversations in there. It's okay to find places to meet each other. Also, having deeper conversations is something that is also important to us. Sometimes just the chit-chat of how you're doing today or what you've had to eat is just not enough, especially when we are living with ourselves in isolation. And so being able to share what we feel with someone who we trust is very important. Finding ourselves obsessing, especially obsessing about loneliness, is a hard thing to get out of unless you're able to speak your truth out loud, unless you're able to share that with someone and have yourselves heard, hearing yourself as well as having someone hear you. And so it's important to find someone you can trust to share this with. It can be a family member on the phone. It can be a neighbor or a friend. It can be Sharon or myself making an appointment and coming to see us. Just as important as speaking your truth is also being heard and listened to. Have someone listen to you. And we can do this for each other as well. You can make an appointment with a friend, and you can make a pact to just be listeners to each other. Let one person tell their story while you listen, and the other person tell you. Don't overtalk them, don't try to fix them, but be in that place where you can hear what they're saying. It is amazing how much we can let go of our feelings, those things that are eating away at us, when we're able to speak it, be heard, and know what it is that's bothering us. Many of us also have that feeling of anxiety about our world outside. For many of us, we may feel that the world we knew has fallen apart, and it's kind of been that way for a while. But lately, there's fires and tornadoes and hurricanes and floods consuming our lands, our country, our waters. And then there's a pandemic that's worldwide that has changed how we are with each other and how we travel, where we go, what we get to do. And then our country's politics are always in crisis mode, no matter what side you're in. Plus, we have what used to be intended to be peaceful demonstrations about the injustices in our world, racial injustice, Black Lives Matter, the other injustices, and now those have been infiltrated by people who want to cause violence and crowd out those voices. And so we may wonder if life in our world will ever be safe again. Will it ever return to what it once was? That's what we keep thinking is what happened to us. Well, all of these issues are beyond our control, and we know that. And too much of us make us so anxious that we can make ourselves sick. So there are some things we can do to take care of ourselves in that as well, like taking a break from the news. Limit the amount of news you watch or read each day. Avoid being a doom surfer. You know, that person that's looking through their phone or on their computer to find out what the latest story is, and you just get hooked on it, and then you find another one. And I can tell you my phone is really dangerous at night, and then I can't fall asleep because I'm looking at the next story. So find a way to put it away. Find a way to let go, and find something more positive, or even positive stories to focus on. Find something or someone to focus on rather than yourself. When you can reach out and outreach from away from you and what's bothering you, it is amazing how your own troubles just kind of get smaller and smaller. And so find someone or something that you can focus on, you can believe in, a purpose that you can help with. We have a group of residents, I just love it, these ladies that go out on either 9th and Seneca or Boren and Seneca, and they divide themselves into the four corners and hold up their Black Lives Matter and push themselves with their walkers all the way out there, but they're finding something that they believe in and that they participate in, even in a safe way. And so there are ways that we can find things to do. There's also our meetings with Zoom these days. And through the Zoom meetings, including committees and politics and getting involved with issues that are important to us, we can participate in those. Our resident council is working very hard. They're still alive and well. They're still finding ways to do things together, and they do it by Zoom. And so be creative in the ways you meet in groups. Join some Zoom groups. I also sponsor a couple of them that are just ways to have deeper conversations with one another. The poetry group and the Being Human group. And then there's also a grief group that meets monthly on Zoom. And so all of us are struggling with grief, whether we've lost someone we know personally or whether we're just grieving about how things are changed. And it's better to talk about it and to tell your story than to hold it in on site. And so feel free to join in one of those grief groups as well. I've also heard about some of the neighborhood cocktail parties you have. You know, all you do is have to open the door of your neighborhood and hold out your drink and give a cheer to the neighbor down the hallway and yell at each other back and forth. You can find creative ways to do things together, and that's one of the funnest. If you're spiritually inclined, we also have services that are on our HHTV twice a week. Or there's lots of services that are available online that you can stream. There's ways you can join fellowship groups, ways you can join book groups, where you can be with people with similar interests, and you're not alone. Also with Zoom groups, if you don't have a computer that allows you to take pictures of you and be seen on a Zoom, you can still join on your phone. You can still call the number that's always on an invitation for Zoom. Underneath the Zoom line, there's a phone number there, and you call that and you join it by phone. That's what I used to do before I was up to date with my laptop. Finally, be aware of yourself and your mental well-being. Depression, grieving, anxiety, sometimes these things overwhelm us and we don't even know it. We don't even realize that we haven't gotten dressed for 5 days or gotten out of bed or talked to anyone. And we also don't know that we haven't been touched in days or months because of this virus. And so pay attention to what is going on with yourself, because we need to live with this in the long haul. Find ways to be in discernment. Find what is life-giving to you that you can do individually in your time at home. Something that gives you joy. And find ways to do it in the moment. Coloring, meditation, mindfulness. Even with stripes on, you can be mindful. Writing stories about your life and share them with your family, or old-fashioned letters. If you want to color and haven't tried that before, I have lots of sets of pens and wonderful pictures that you can color that are on heavy-duty paper. People are still sewing or doing art. There are also people who are still gardening. Sort through those old photos that are in boxes underneath your bed. Find a project in your own home that you haven't done, that you kept saying you'll get to someday. Update your healthcare directive. A lot of people have found that it's not up to date, that the people that were even supposed to advocate for them aren't available anymore. And so find ways to make your life meaningful, even in the moments, as you live in the present. Find some good books to read or listen to on audio, or find someone to read to you, or you to read to someone else. Then you can talk about what you're reading. We have many residents who would love to volunteer to read to you if you are a person that is struggling with reading and eyesight issues. Music is also important for people, and so live stream concerts or invite one another in person to play an instrument or to watch with you a concert or learn a new instrument. Just remember that we're all in this together, that we can find and will get through this. It's okay to call for help if you need it. It's not something you need to be ashamed of, because all of us struggle in ways that we haven't before. This is new. We've never lived through this before. And so it's okay to reach out to one another. It's okay to take care of your mental health as well as your physical well-being, your inner well-being. It's as important to maintain as all of the rest of us. And so we are in this together. We can get through this. If you need help, ask for it. And all of these ideas will be in print outside my office next to the Myrtle Edwards room if you feel like you'd like to have them for your own reminder. Thanks, and I hope you have good mental health each day.
Good morning. We're down here in one of our mechanical spaces where we have the North Tower generator. It is a Cat diesel V12 quad turbocharged with 38-liter displacement. It'll put out 750 kilowatts, 480 volts, and it's sitting on top of an 800-gallon fuel cell. This generator, when it turns on, will be able to provide energy to the North Tower, common areas, and some of our supported living areas, excluding the resident apartments. Reason I wanted to talk about this space is important to us because if we had a major disaster and we lost power, this thing's going to turn on for us. And for us to prepare for those kind of events, we are actually going to be having an earthquake drill coming up for all of our staff on October 22nd near 10 a.m. And as a reminder, we'll be using the overhead announcers for you to be able to hear that we're having this drill. We'll be seeing staff go to the Parkview Lounge as a primary location. We'll be giving them hard hats, high-resolution vests, and backpacks, and they will be searching the entire building. So when you see staff running around on that morning with hard hats and backpacks, you know that they're doing their job to search the building. So for a resident, what you can do to participate is to get out your Get Ready booklet and review what you should do to prepare before an earthquake and what should you do in the event we had an earthquake, which is drop, cover, and hold on. So there's an opportunity for all of us, even during COVID, to be practicing what to do during a disaster. So more information will come in the alert as a reminder, but we'll be having that earthquake drill coming up in October. We're behind the scenes here in the generator room, which gives us a perfect opportunity to think about during these times this year, how things keep operating. And we want to thank people behind the scenes that keep things working for all of us, the staff and the residents. So we think about in the kitchen, the staff back there that are preparing our meals and the dish staff to make sure that those things are still operating for us. Down at our loading dock, all the deliveries that still happen and the purchasing team that make sure our central supplies are getting everything they need for our PPEs and all of the crucial things that we need to keep operating. The Human Resources Department is very important during times like this, which you residents don't see much of, but they are very important for us as we continue to be going through these difficult times. The accounting team, I'm sure you get your statements and you have to pay your bills, but they are behind the scenes making sure that the numbers all line up and that things are happening for us as well. The IT team, that with technology changing and all of the new things we're having to do, working remotely for some staff, they are integral to our operations. And in spaces like this, the facilities staff that make sure that this space is functional and all the other mechanical areas that facilities team make sure that are working. The environmental services team, they have a number of things that they do behind the scenes to disinfect and make sure that we're all safe. A number of us haven't been up in supported living because of COVID, but there are fantastic teammates that we have up there that are ensuring that our most vulnerable residents and our neighbors are kept safe and sound up in supported living. And during nighttime, when I'm in my jammies, security officers are here to make sure that everything is safe and secure for us on that night shift. We have staff that are private caregivers that don't work for Horizon House that are integral to the care for our residents here at Horizon House. And every morning we have a COVID task force meeting that we're ensuring that things are happening to keep things rolling during these unique situations. We have support of the HAG, or the Resident Health Advisory Group, that helps us through that time. And of course, our resident-driven community with all of the resident council committees and all of the volunteers that make sure that things are still happening all the time, and especially during times now of COVID. One of the other things that's happening behind the scenes, and some of you are involved in the event support committee and resident council, is the way that we do different meetings and gatherings that we used to be able to do, like this event. We would all be gathering in the Anderson Hall. Well, we're now doing Zoom meetings, which is a new way of us getting together. We're doing Zoom webinars, which is something that Peter and Resident Council has done on a couple of events that we will be doing more of those in the future. Of course, we have recorded presentations that we've done with staff running our camera or resident volunteers, and we have more and unique opportunities to continue and do those. And then we have, like this today, with our professional videography team that comes in and helps us make these kind of presentations. The uniqueness is that we're now finding different technologies that we partner with to make this work. We use YouTube, HHTV, and HH Connect in new and different ways. And Risa, our events program manager, has been working with all of the different committees and going through and trying to understand what's the best way for us to do these in our new environment because of COVID. We don't have all the answers yet, and we're still trying to understand them and collaborate as usual with our residents, resident committees, and resident council. So it's important that we continue to go through this as we learn for the future. One of the services that I wanted to remind you of is our Horizon House housekeeping services that we have available for you. And we have a new staff member that is able to do carpet cleaning and floor care services for us that we've hired just to do this. So in the past, we weren't able to offer carpet cleaning, and we're so thankful now that we have a staff person specifically to do this for us. So if you want to get some house cleaning done or get your carpets cared for, contact Pam or Barbara, and they'll make appointments for you to get those services done for you. So I wanted to provide an update on Freeway Park. As most of us have noticed, and I have heard from the residents, that Freeway Park hasn't looked its best recently. One of the things is that Seattle City Parks are responsible for maintaining that park, and I had a recent board meeting for the Freeway Park Association, and there was a representative from Seattle Parks that was telling us that at the beginning of the year, they typically would be hiring 50 more staff, that they're actually on a hiring freeze, and they actually lost 50% of the staff that they would have. So Seattle City Parks is down 50%, having 12 parks that they maintain, that they're trying to maintain with all that's going on at Cal Anderson, Westlake Park, and here at Freeway Park. Sometimes it is lower on the totem pole for getting those services and the upkeep that it needs. However, Freeway Park Association is very active in the park, and we have some signs that we made because the parks aren't able to make any right now, and there's a couple that they have made that remind us of what we can do in the park. It's a great open space. It's a gem right next to Horizon House that we can go and appreciate. And so they have some masks, some signs about reminding us to wear masks. And when we do gatherings in the park, as reminders to be safe with social distancing, and reminding us to wash our hands and use hand sanitizer when we're always in the spaces. We do have a new member for the Freeway Park Association, a new program manager named Anna, and she is down at the concierge table on Tuesdays from 10 a.m. to 1 o'clock and on Thursdays from 1 to 3. And at those concierge carts, she has an opportunity for you to register to vote. Please, I hope you're registered to vote, but if not, you can go down there and get that taken care of. She's also helping people with drive they're doing in collaboration with Compass House Alliance for a back to school drive that they're doing that you can drop off school supplies. They also have water down there for people that need them and can answer questions for you about Freeway Park down at the concierge cart on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Also on Tuesdays, we have some residents that volunteer for this, but it's a weeding party where you can go and help try to beautify the park on Tuesdays between 10 a.m. and 1 o'clock. And if you have tools, you can bring them with you, or they will have some provided for you that are sanitized, and you can sign up by emailing Anna, which we'll have on the slides as well as on HH Connect for you to be able to do that. The chalkboards have been put back into life down at Freeway Park. There was a time where we weren't doing that, and so those are up and active again, and we have a volunteer that has been doing some artwork on the side of those that is quite beautiful. So if you are in the park, you'll notice that that is now activated again for us to be able to see in the upper lawns of Freeway Park. The other thing is, if we do see that the park needs maintenance and it needs something, is that there's an app that works excellent. It's called the Find It, Fix It app on your phone that you just take a photo of the situation and send it through that app, and it'll go directly to the city for them to correct it. Or you can also take a photo and email it to Freeway Park Association, and they'll make sure that they send it along. And if you're in the parks between Mondays and Thursdays in the mornings until 11, if you see a staff member in the park, certainly let them know to address these issues that we have in the park. And so if you do want to volunteer, you can reach out to Anna, drop down at the concierge cart and let her know that you want to help. It's a time like this when city parks can't support us as much as we would like in Freeway Park, that a number of us get involved and engaged to help when we can. If you aren't receiving their newsletter, you can sign up for that as well at the concierge cart and follow them on all of their social media platforms of Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Last thing that I wanted to talk about is during COVID, we have allowed certain essential people to come into the building, such as contractors and vendors. And authorized persons that are allowed under certain circumstances must be approved and authorized. And if you have any questions, certainly let me know. You can give me a call, drop down and see me, or shoot me an email, and we'll take care of you in that way. And again, all of those folks that are authorized to come in, they must sign out when they leave as well, so we have those records. Thanks very much.
Greetings. I'm Peter Shapiro, President of your Residence Council. My comments today will have only one subject, and I'm going to read them because words are important to me, and I think they'll be important to you as well. The one subject I'm going to talk about, in many ways, is the most important thing we can do as residents each year. Remember how you felt last spring when the pandemic drove us behind our apartment doors, when our fabulous staff remained steady, when they remained dedicated, when they took care of us despite significant risks to themselves and to their families, their children, maybe an older generation as well. Remember the days when we were treated with such grace and joy. To use one resident's words, like first-class passengers on a good ship named Horizon House. Just a few months ago, we were taken care of by heroes. Heroes work here, the sign reads. Yes, people who have always cared for us, people with whom we have become friends. In those early days, not so long ago, residents began asking, what can I do to express my appreciation for all that our staff is doing? Our response, remember how you feel today, express your thanks when we begin the annual Employee Recognition Fund drive this fall. Well, this fall is here. The opportunity is here. The annual Employee Recognition Fund drive begins next week. It brings the opportunity for each of us to stretch a bit further when we make our gifts this year, just as our employees stretched a bit further for us, quite a bit further for us. Think back about how you felt earlier during the first months of our shared crisis. How much of what you had been doing for yourself was being done by our staff, bringing us meals, packages, morning newspapers when vendors were not allowed inside our doors, even the mail sometimes when we were in strict quarantine, and small, precious thoughts and gifts. And never a frown or an unpleasant word, even when our entire community began wearing masks. We could see the smiles in their eyes, the eyes of our employees, and hear the smile in their cheerful voices. How much joy did that bring to you? How much help? Think about that. Our employees stretched further when they saw that we needed their help. Now it's our turn. Heroes work here. If things turn worse again, we will be in good hands. I know we will join together to honor and to thank such wonderful people. Up next to tell us how this will happen is my good friend and chair of this year's Employee Recognition Fund Drive, Mary Ann Anderson.
Thank you, Peter. Next Thursday, October 1, you'll find information in your mailboxes about being part of the Employee Recognition Fund, ERF, we call it. The drive extends for only 6 weeks, October 1 through November 15th. Then early in December, all proceeds of the fund will be distributed to non-management employees according to the number of hours they have worked in the year 2020. And what a year it's been, 2020. Unprecedented for both residents and employees. This drive, however, is another Horizon House tradition. Going back at least 20 years, probably more, it has remained a constant, generated by residents, benefiting employees. I find it ironic that we should be sitting here beside this generator when so many new challenges have been generated this year. Just the word generator is relevant. If you'll allow me for a moment, generation. Our family members, 2 or 3 generations ago, experienced the 1918 epidemic. To generate, now, 100 years later, our employees, often at risk to themselves, have generated loving care for us, keeping us well and safe during our own pandemic. And finally, the word generous. In spite of the cold, hard feel of this generator, it can inspire us to be generous. The electricity, although sometimes just for the emergency, the electricity it generates sheds light on our own good fortune and our appreciation for those around us. Please remember the ERF, October 1 through November 15th. Thank you.
Well, I'm back, and you're probably wondering, what's all this Waldo business? Now, maybe as a parent or maybe as a grandparent, you remember reading the books to kids that had Waldo, where you would search through to find out where was Waldo in the picture. Well, we're all Waldos here, and we're also everywhere, which means we're here to answer your questions, to help you with something on the fly. You see us in the hallway, we're always available. We're kind of like the ubiquitous Waldo. We're everywhere, and hopefully that comes across as a way we're here for you all the time. So hopefully that's what your experience is. That's certainly what we want to create. And we've had a little bit of fun with Waldo, and hopefully you appreciate it too. Now on to some announcements and some other kind of fun facts. Flu season, of course, is coming upon us, and flu shots were available on the September 23rd. We have another round that will be available coming up on October 28th from 9 a.m. to noon. And in order to schedule that, take a visit to the clinic and get your form, get it filled out with your various insurance cards, and we'll get you queued up for the flu vaccine. And of course, as you've already heard, it's really important this year that you get that vaccine, do everything you can to stay safe during that the flu season and not get it in any way commingled with symptoms that might be COVID related. Now, another topic I kind of want to go into a little bit more detail on, and I'll also talk about this in the September CEO report, is strategic planning. You know, what is it and why? What's our process? What have we concluded so far? And, you know, where does this all really lead us? So back in early part of the year, we had planned to jump on to strategic planning. It got delayed because of COVID, and we started again right around June. And in order to kind of understand what it is, I'll give a little explanation. In a corporate world, and you may have been a part of that in your lifetime, the strategic planning was all geared towards growth that would ultimately create a return for shareholders, and that was the primary purpose. In senior living, it's really about discerning how to fulfill your mission. And that may mean growth, but it doesn't necessarily mean growth. It means understanding your mission and being able to execute it as best as you are able. So what's our process? Well, first you have to have qualified facilitation. You know, when you're starting to look inward at yourself as an organization, it's very hard to do that when you are so close to the organization. So we've had a really good facilitator, Ryan Frederick, who's helped us by asking the tough questions that will lead us to a better understanding of what our mission is and then what we ought to do with that. The second part of that process is having a good board subcommittee, people who can take the time to focus and to really listen deeply into the questions and into the answers that we uncovered during the process. And then there's the construct. The construct of strategic planning for us has been the GPS model, which is essentially understanding where are you today, and that's both a qualitative and a qualitative understanding of where we are, where we should go, and then ultimately, how do we get there? Inherent in this process is a deeper understanding of what our mission is. It's always important to keep revisiting mission to understand if it's really applicable to us as an organization and to the current times. So that's been an inherent part of our process. And sometimes I think it's easy to think that strategic planning is going to reveal some profound aha that no one had thought of. But oftentimes what it really is a deeper understanding and a more firm commitment in what you kind of know, but now you really know it. In fact, you know it so really well that you really want to do whatever is necessary to address that mission. So what have we included so far? Well, we're still in process, but certain things come to light as you go through this process, and they're not total surprises, but they are good observations that help us get a grip on what we face. And I'll just kind of cite three of them. There are many things that we've covered. One is that we know that in single site organizations like ours, the cost structure tends to rise faster than the revenue side. That's a function of labor cost, it's a function of technology, and a function of other services that we want to bring. And we're also in an environment where we're looking to protect our residents from unreasonable increases in service fees so that we can maintain that broad socioeconomic environment. And that means that it gets a little bit more squeezed for us than it might be for a community that's serving a much higher end audience and who's less sensitive to price. The second is that we know that it is harder to attain and retain the leadership required to think through the issues and challenges of the future and of our current times. So smaller organizations sometimes have a difficult time finding the right people. I think we've been very fortunate in having great staff and great leaders, but that's always on our mind. How will we continue to evolve the leadership of the organization to ensure that we're addressing the kinds of problems that we might encounter? And I talk with Sarah fairly often, and I think about the challenges that she faces and what the organization and the board did not do and neglected for a long period of time. She has a really, really heavy lift to take them out of some very difficult circumstances that, had they been thinking about this and paying attention to it all along, might not have been their burden. She's qualified and she's capable, she'll make it happen, but it's not something that's going to be easy or quick. The other thing that we notice in this process has been that the technology requirements are going to go up, not less. You as a resident are going to have more expectation of us. We have to figure out how we're going to be able to meet that expectation and be able to afford that expectation. And we want to do that, but it's not an easy thing to figure out. The other thing that we've concluded so far is that while we have a good mission statement when you just read it, it's a bit murky in terms of using it as a way in which it can help you with decisions. So we will probably want to retool and rework what we mean in that mission statement so it is a better guide for how we make our decisions. Now, the real eureka in this is that we have come to believe what you all know, and that is that we are a resident-driven community. And while we've always known that, and we have always kind of talked about the sense of our community, it is through this process that you internalize it in a way that you realize its profound importance and how the resident-driven nature of our community truly sets us apart from any other organization. And I don't mean that to be hubris. We always have to be watchful of being overconfident about anything. But when we look at our competitors, when we look at new communities that are coming out of the ground, they are competing on glass and steel. They do not have the benefit of 60 years worth of culture, and they don't have the benefit of 60 years worth of a resident-driven culture. So what we know more than anything in this process so far is this is absolutely the most important thing under all circumstances that we must preserve, the resident-driven culture. It is our wide moat, our separation from our competitors. It is also our opportunity to seek an audience of future residents who truly gain their senior year, the quality of their senior years, by being active and engaged. And not all communities do that. In fact, most don't. So you might think, well, gosh, that's kind of like you discovered the obvious. Well, we didn't really discover the obvious, but the commitment and the clarity to that obvious is really what we have come to learn and appreciate. And that should be a confidence builder for you to know that whatever we do to figure out how we navigate our future, that we're not going to violate that one profound element of the resident-driven culture. So where does it all lead? Well, to be determined. It's not fully unpacked yet. We've gotten some information, we've got some ideas, but over the course of the next couple of months, we'll be kind of putting it all together and getting greater clarity on other items that are a part of this process. We'll share it with the board, bring the board into the deeper understanding that we have all had the benefit of experiencing, and then that will begin to formulate the action plan that we know is going to be the key to preserving our resident-driven culture in perpetuity. And then we'll begin to share that with residents. This is something that you should consider to be a positive development, not one to fear. It is something that will help enhance who we are and ensure that we stay this way indefinitely. So stay tuned for more details on strategic planning, and I just wanted this opportunity to share with you a little bit of the process, the context, and the preliminary outcomes, and you'll hear more about it as we kind of this unfolds over time. Next topic I wanted to touch on is community engagement, which relates pretty much to strategic planning as I just described it. You know, the resident-driven nature, the community involvement is our secret sauce. That was a big theme that Sarah carried forward, one that I truly believe in. And what I can say now is we need more sauce. Not because that the Residents Council and residents aren't doing everything they can to engage people, but the COVID experience really does tend to cause more isolation than it does engagement. And so I want to encourage everyone to be as active within the committees as you possibly can. This is a way in which we not only evidence our resident-driven culture, but we really stay as positive and future-looking as possible because we're active doing the things that matter. For prospective residents, we want them to see what community can look like even under difficult circumstances. And I think COVID is probably the most difficult circumstance we've encountered. So when people see your friends, other prospective residents, see your level of engagement, that's going to give them an indication that we survive these things not only from the medical standpoint, but from the vibrancy standpoint as well. So do all you can to participate in that. Next topic is new architects. You know, I have been reminded by many people how they just were so anxious that we would get new architects, new flavor, new look. And finally, after 25 years, we have made that change. We have, through the help of Grant Hildebrandt and George Lotchke, we had 4 interviews with different firms recommended by George, and we settled on Methuen. Methuen is a award-winning, I should say, architectural firm headquartered in Seattle, but they have offices in San Francisco and Los Angeles. And when we met with them, and I met with them each several times, Eli and I met together with them several times, and what I discovered was that here was a full-service firm that worked together and really had the ability to understand who we are, where we want to be going, and how they might be able to enhance that through great design. So we are onboarding them now, and we look forward to them to participate in projects that are, the new projects that are starting, primarily Anderson Hall. The TDR and Bistro will be another project for them. The University Garage entrance will be another one. And then also some on apartment design up in supported living. We may not be able to tackle a full-scale supported living design right now, primarily because of uncertainty around regulations associated with COVID, but we want to begin to get those apartments to feel more like home so that as people make the transition into supported living, they feel like they're going from one home that they love to another home that's going to be equally as satisfying in being in Horizon House. Future design projects will include the lobby, reception, the mail area, packaging. As you know, packaging has become a profoundly new issue for us and most other types of whether office buildings or apartment buildings, because now we've got, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, it looks like an Amazon warehouse here with all the packages coming in. And we have grocery delivery. That's not something that we had factored into our layout many years ago, and now it's something that we have to take into consideration. And a lot has to do with systems, but a lot has to do with creating an environment and a space that is conducive to that type of delivery system. Down the road, we've got other projects that include the C and D decks. One thing I think that has emerged in COVID and what might put the C and D decks as a farther up the curve of remodel is that we know that when we are locked down, we need to have space we can go to. And having space that feels like a park, that feels like a place that is safe and secure and yet outdoors and takes advantage of all of the things that we have across from Freeway Park is a good thing. Certainly want to keep all the opportunity for gardening and create environments where people want to spend time and space. So hopefully that will be something that maybe kicks off sooner than we'd otherwise planned because it was illuminated by this COVID experience. Next, I want to mention that we are doing an upgrade on the salon. We did involve our staff into the process of what things they would like, what they preferred, what we needed. and we've kind of come to an agreement, in some cases not fully agreeing on everything. It's something that I think is going to bring in new equipment, new look and feel, new plumbing, and things that serve people as today. It's not a spa, it's just a nicer looking salon, and hopefully it's something that you'll see as a positive addition, and it won't be too long before that's made available to everybody once we get this project underway. I want to mention that we have the satisfaction surveys. The surveys will be coming out by the post office, so they're going to be totally independent. Be on the lookout for it. They should be in there mid to late October. We've changed up the questions a little bit, and we do want your ratings on how we do many things. The questions have been asked in ways that hopefully will lead us to ask deeper questions when we find results that are not exactly what we want, so that we can actually use this survey as a basis for improving what we do. There's an awful lot of people here with a lot of different points of view, but our goal is really to try to have the best solutions for the most people possible, and the survey is one way in which we are able to get an understanding of how well we're doing, what areas need improvements, and which areas you feel really strongly about. So look forward to that in mid-October. Please send them back. We take them very seriously, and usually that leads to improvements, and I think that this year will be no different. Okay, on to some bright spots. I think everybody has got to appreciate the creativity that the dining staff has had in putting together the displays out front by the hostess desk. I mean, it really looks terrific. It's been a lot of fun. We want to do more of those things. It breaks things up. It also gives us an opportunity to have a fun thing for residents, and staff like doing it. So hopefully you enjoy it, and we're going to keep doing it. The grab-and-go barbecues have been fun. It isn't quite like it used to be, but I tell you, the lines were long every time I went to get my burger, and I think everyone appreciated it. We were taking advantage of the good weather, got truncated a little bit maybe because of the smoke from the fires, but, if there's another nice-looking fall day, let's maybe do it again before the rainy season really sets in. Next is, we also do some treats for staff. Right? So the treat trolley makes its way around, and it delivers things to staff to just brighten their day. Not a big deal, not a profound deal, but it's a little way of saying that we do recognize that, you're as a staff person, you're working hard. It's nice to brighten it up, maybe lighten it up a little bit, and serve you something that makes your day just a little bit better. And we're going to keep doing that to make sure our staff understand just how important they are and how much they're appreciated at all times. So that's all I have for now. I hope that you have found this helpful, maybe a little entertaining, maybe a little bit of fun, but at least communicative of the things that we're doing and that we're trying to do. And I'm sure you'll let me know one way or the other how you might feel about that. It takes a great crew to put this together. There's a lot more engagement and involvement by a lot of our staff to make these programs work the way they do. We may change them up a little bit as we go forward, but a lot of people put a lot of time and effort into helping make these things fly, and I hope that's something that you recognize and appreciate. We have fun doing it, but at the end of the day, it's got to be something that works for you and makes you feel good. So our next Fireside Chat will be on Friday, October 30th at 10 a.m., and we look forward to seeing you then. Thanks so much.